stand by. Okay. Can you see the agenda?
I can.
All right, then we are off and running. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Monday, June 28th regular meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. We're a little bit late getting started because we're using a new application. We are now conducting this virtual meeting through Zoom, and it is continues to be available for this for watching on YouTube, and in the future we'll be enhancing our Zoom meetings to allow more effective public comment, but this is the first time we're trying this. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order, and we have a quorum of all three commissioners. Next item on our agenda would be a resolution declaring July 18th through 24th as Probation, Parole, and Community Supervision Week in Lincoln County. I believe Commissioner Hall will read the resolution and then welcome comments from Director Campa if he is present, or others. Commissioner Hall. Did we lose you?
I don't see Commissioner Hall.
I don't see Commissioner Hall either. As I said, we're in a new application, folks.
Well, I can go ahead and read it, actually. Jump on.
Commissioner Hall's connecting. Are you there, Commissioner Hall?
Yes, I am. One wrong click and I exited the meeting, but I'm back.
Well, we are waiting patiently for you to read the resolution.
Okay. Well, in the matter of declaring July 18th through July 24th, 2021 as Probation, Parole, and Community Supervision Week in Lincoln County. Whereas juvenile and adult community supervision is an essential part of the criminal justice and public safety system, and whereas Lincoln County community justice professionals uphold the law with dignity and affirm the right of the public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, whereas LCCJ staff hold adult and juvenile justice involved individuals accountable, and LCCJ staff help the county and the criminal justice system enhance community safety, reduce criminal activity, and help the community make effective use of public resources. Whereas LCJJ staff protect public safety with care and concern. They are trained professionals who arrange or provide prevention, intervention, and behavior change services to justice-involved individuals, which are effective in reducing criminal behavior and recidivism. Whereas LCCJ staff support victims and advocates for the restoration of communities harmed by crime and delinquent behavior. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim July 18th through 24th, 2021 as Probation, Parole, and Community Supervision Week in Lincoln County, Oregon, in honor, recognition, and respect for the dedication and contributions of the county's community justice officers and staff. And that's the text.
Here. All right, I was muted there. Thank you, Commissioner. I do not see Director Campa, but Sheriff Landers, any comments you'd like to share?
Sure, thank you, Chair Hunt. Curtis Landers, Lincoln County Sheriff. Yeah, obviously, Lincoln County Community Justice, the Juvenile Department, Parole and Probation is an integral part of the criminal justice system. It's in working with them to help achieve the goals that we're all trying to achieve. You know, and it's a huge part because it actually allows for individuals to be out of custody. That's sometimes sooner than their sentence is, so that they can be monitored in the community. I know that a lot of these parole probation officers have huge caseloads that they take on in the community, but it also, one person can do 50, 60 people, as opposed to the cost of keeping somebody in jail is better for the person out and better for the economy keeping them in. And having that monitoring out where they can succeed is important. They also have the transitional housing pieces, which is, huge part of what goes into helping the individual get back on track. For years, we didn't have that. And I think it was one of those things. I remember having somebody in jail that was serving a sentence close to getting out, and an individual that I had contacted several times when I worked the road, and obviously they were off drugs and alcohol or any other substance while they were in the facility. And they're saying they were worried when they got back out. This is before we had the transitional housing. They're worried to get back out because they're just going to go to the same influences that got them there to begin with, even though they knew exactly what to do. And that transitional housing has helped a lot, because it's that just one more step out instead of going right from jail after however long back out into the community. So just helping with that, as you can see, is a huge part to the whole component. It's obviously those transitional houses are in the program is something that we modeled our pretrial TAPS program under. So we're basically get people out as soon as possible and put them into some type of housing and on a program to get him on the right track. Several people have gone from pretrial, once they have been adjudicated in the court system, to the actual transitional housing with the parole and probation. So, great group. We work very closely with them, of course, not only with the jail, but also in patrol. And again, I think this is very warranted to recognize Parole and Probation and Community Supervision Week in Lincoln County.
Thank you. Comments from commissioners? Comments or questions? Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, beyond kind of the normal duties as the, proclamation sort of outlines, and beyond what Sheriff Landers just said, I think, as everyone knows, the last really 2 years have been really difficult in Lincoln County with COVID and wildfires. And I just want to say that parole and probation was yet another group and another department of the county that just went completely above and beyond, in my opinion. They helped for almost about a year provide housing to homeless and those that were COVID positive by getting them in hotel rooms to quarantine during the pandemic. They also helped with evacuations during our wildfire, and just in the chaos of all of that, ended up helping with hospice patients that had been evacuated and finding them hotel rooms, and working with Samaritan Hospice Program. So just, again, another example of another department within Lincoln County that just, again, went above and beyond to help us, in our communities and the times of need in this last couple of years.
Very good. Commissioner Hall.
Well, I would like to say some good things about community justice, but I think the sheriff and Commissioner Jacobson covered them all. They're a great community partner. I mean, they are determined, I think, to work with the sheriff's office, district attorney, treatment professionals, many others that I should be naming, but I can't, to really recognize the fact that, what is it? I hear the statistic, 96% of the people behind bars in this country will eventually be released back into the community, and having programs, housing, supportive services to at least give them the chance at a successful reentry, I think not only improves the life of the individual, but enhances the safety of the community. And I really believe that's the kind of principles that are guiding our community justice program.
And I just got a text from Director Kenyon, and apparently he is in our meeting, but he is as a, listen only. So Casey, could you please move him over into the panelist group so that he can talk?
Yep. Tony, you should see yourself popping into the screen here.
There we go. Tony, can you hear us?
Maybe give him just a sec to find his mute button.
There, well, is,
Okay,
all right, Director Campa, share some comments about the resolution providing the week of Supervision Week in Lincoln County for community justice.
I just want to, thank everyone for all the support we've had in the last year. And I really think that our community justice partners have really stepped up as everyone has mentioned. And we're really grateful to be able to help out. And we would like to celebrate that week by having on Wednesday here at our office, at the main office on 218 West Olive Street. We're going to have a barbecue with snow cones, and we just like to show some appreciation to the public and to all of our partners. So we're hoping everyone, as many people that can make it, we would love for you to have you here between the hours of 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. We're going to be doing, like I say, a barbecue and just showing an appreciation and talking a little bit about what it is that we do and how we can, maybe be of service to partners.
So Director Campa, when you say Wednesday, would that be Wednesday of the week in July?
Yes. Yeah, that's Wednesday. And I'm sorry, I couldn't log on earlier, so I don't have the calendar in front of me, but it's the Wednesday of that week of the 18th. I want to say it's the 23rd, I believe, but I can't remember exactly what date it is.
Okay.
I'm looking at a calendar. The 21st is a Wednesday.
Okay, it's the 21st.
Okay.
21st.
Thank you for clarifying that, Commissioner Hall. I would have shown up looking for a hot dog and a snow cone 2 days
Tomorrow.
from now.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. Any other comments from Commissioner Jacobson or Commissioner Hall? I would just add my genuine support for the great job that community justice has done. I think when you look at our county, we are certainly doing a more effective job. I think we're probably a leader amongst the counties as far as the cooperation between community justice and the sheriff's office and developing programs that break the cycle of recidivism. And I think we really need to pause and take a moment to what that means. It's really effective in keeping people from going back to jail. We've got the pretrial program. We've got peer counseling through Chance, other supportive services. And I'll also give a shout out to you, Director Campa. I think under your leadership, we have seen the community justice staff become more involved in the community on what I'll call a volunteer basis. And I think that helps improve the relationships between the county and our citizens and serves us well. So good work. And I will be happy to entertain a motion to approve this resolution, adopt the resolution.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we declare July 18th through 24th, 2021 as Probation, Parole, and Community Supervision Week in Lincoln County.
And I will second Commissioner Hall's motion.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries, and keep up the good work, Director Campa. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the adoption of the consent calendar. These are items of a routine nature or items that have come before the board before. If staff or commissioner wish to highlight an item, they may do so now. I will also note that this being the last Board of Commissioners meeting in the current fiscal year, this consent calendar is a bit longer than normal, but if there's anything to be someone would like to highlight, may do so. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Commissioners, this is Wayne Belmont. I'm not sure if you can hear me now.
We can.
All right. I was having a little audio trouble too. Item H6, we put a placeholder in there for updated leases. I think Casey shows that now.
Yep.
And we've been reviewing the myriad leases we have here in terms of making sure we've got everything up to date, renewals, some of the tax exemption forms we have to file. So we're working on that now to pull it through. There is one item that we did come up against, and we'd like to, and I think the best way to do this is have you approve the consent calendar and then do a separate motion. But the separate motion would be to authorize the chair to sign a lease between Lincoln County School District and Lincoln County Health and Human Services Department. We actually have a long-term lease for the school-based clinics, and it's required with our HRSA grant that we have this arrangement. Even though there's no money that exchanges hands here, they provide us the space, we provide the services. We need to have this particular agreement in place. It was last executed 10 years ago. And so it needs to be renewed again. So if we could get a separate motion after the consent calendar to authorize the chair to sign a new agreement between the school district and Health and Human Services for the school-based clinics, that would be very good. So thank you.
Okay, so noted. A motion?
Mr. Chair, I move for adoption of the consent calendar as presented.
I second that motion.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Now we'll go back and I will entertain a motion to renew the lease agreement between the Lincoln County School District and the Lincoln County Health and Human Services Department for the school-based health centers.
I will, sorry about that.
You can just move.
So moved.
Second.
Council Belmont, is that motion satisfactory?
That is, thank you very much.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, now we will move on to a series of public hearings. And as I indicated earlier, with the conclusion of the current fiscal year, we have some budgets to be adopted, and we will take them individually. So I will open a public hearing for adoption of the 2020, adoption of the 21, let's start over. Adopting the 2021-22 budget and making appropriations for the solid waste disposal district. First, we will hear the public hearing is now open. Any public comment? Casey.
Chair, there is no public comment in regard to these budgets.
Okay, Director Shearer, any changes or comments on the solid waste disposal district budget?
There were no changes to the solid waste disposal budget.
All right, I will close the public hearing. Any discussion from commissioners? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the budget.
I move to approve the resolution adopting 2021-22 budget and making appropriations for the Lincoln County Solid Waste Disposal Service District as approved by the Lincoln County Budget Committee.
I believe you seconded Commissioner Hall with your.
Sorry, I was muted, but yes, I'll make the second official.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, we'll move on to adoption of the 2021-22 budget, making appropriations for the Transportation Service District Fund. I'll open the public hearing. Any public comment, Casey?
There was none.
Director Shearer, staff.
Sorry, go ahead. There were no changes to this budget.
All right, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion, commissioners? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the budget.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the resolution adopting the 21-22 budget, making appropriations, levying taxes, and categorizing categorizing the levy for the Lincoln County Transportation Service District as approved by the Lincoln County Budget Committee, and to authorize a property tax levy at the permanent tax rate of 0.0974 or 9.74 cents per thousand, and that these taxes be imposed and categorized for the tax year 2021-22 upon the assessed value on all taxable property within the county in accordance with law as of July 1, 2021.
I will second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion is approved. Moving on, now have a public hearing for adopting the 2021-22 budget and making appropriations for the Siletz Area Enhanced Law Enforcement Service District Fund. I'll open the public hearing. Any public comment? Casey?
There was none.
Staff, any changes?
There were no changes to this budget.
I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion, commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution adopting the 2021-22 budget, making appropriations, levying taxes, and categorizing the levy for the Siletz Area Enhanced Law Enforcement Service District as approved by the District Budget Committee, and to authorize a property tax levy at the permanent tax rate of 1.3100 per $1,000, and that these taxes be imposed and categorized for the tax year 2021-22 upon the assessed value on all taxable property within the county in accordance with the law as of July 1, 2021.
I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion? Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, we'll move on to adopting the 2021-22 budget, making appropriations and levying taxes and categorizing the levy for the Extension Service District Fund. So I'll open the public hearing. Any public comment, Casey?
There was none.
Any changes, Director Shearer?
There were no changes to this budget.
I'll close the public hearing and any discussion, commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the resolution adopting the 2021-22 budget, making appropriations, levying taxes, and categorizing the levy for the Lincoln County Extension Service District as approved by the Lincoln County Budget Committee, and to authorize a property tax levy at the permanent tax rate of 0.0451 or 4.51 cents per thousand, and that these taxes be imposed and categorized for the tax year 2021-22 upon the assessed value on all taxable property within the county in accordance with law as of July 1, 2021. I also move to authorize signing the certificate of appropriation of funds supporting the extension programs.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, next we'll have a public hearing adopting the 2021-22 budget, making appropriations, levying taxes, and categorizing the levy for the Animal Services District. I'll open the public hearing. Any public comment?
There was none.
Any updates, Director Shearer?
There were no changes to this budget.
I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion, commissioners? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution adopting the 2021-22 budget, making appropriations, levying taxes, and categorizing the levy for the Lincoln County Animal Services District as approved by the Lincoln County Budget Committee, and to authorize a property tax levy at the permanent tax rate of 11 cents per thousand, and that these taxes be imposed and categorized for the year 2020-21. Oh, I think that's a spell check. No, we're right. Upon the assessed value on all taxable property within the county in accordance with law as of July 1, 2021.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Last but not least, open a public hearing on adopting the 2021-22 budget, making appropriations and levying taxes and categorizing the levy. This would be for Lincoln County. And I'll open the public hearing. Any public comment?
There was none.
Christina, any changes?
Yes, in fact, we do have some changes for this budget. They're minor.
Kind of thought we might. Go ahead.
We made changes in 4 funds. The first is the Fund 203, the County Commons Fund. We made an increase of $210,000, $567. Those were largely in reserves. So it was mostly just to account for an error in the beginning fund balance. Next, we have a reduction in Fund 205, the Law Library Fund, and it's a small reduction of $28,755. This is also a correction of an error. In Fund 213, Title III Safety Net, we also have a reduction of $79,700. This is a small reduction again to correct for a beginning balance error. Finally, we have an adjustment of $275,600 in the Fund 607, which is the County Commons Facility Funds. This is a combination of an increase in materials and services, and basically we're categorizing between capital expenditures and materials and services, and also increasing overall expenditure authority in this fund by the amount of $275,600. All totaled, these adjustments come to $377,712, which represents 0.31% of the budget approved by the Budget Committee.
Any questions, commissioners?
Um,
Go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
So just an observation, the last data point that Director Scherer provided, these adjustments are well within, I believe, the statutory range. If we're adjusting the budget more than 10% over what was approved by the Budget Committee, we would have to reconvene the Budget Committee. But in the context of the total budget, these are pretty minor and routine adjustments, I think it would be fair to say.
Thank you.
And again, I think some of the adjustments are also a reflection of receiving our fiscal audit. Is that fair to say?
Really, it's just a matter of going back and recalculating a few things, reallocating a few things, and double checking our work. There, some additional information came in after the Budget Committee convened, and so we moved some things around, and that did cause these adjustments.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the resolution adopting the 2021-22 Lincoln County budget, making appropriations, levying taxes, and categorizing the levy as approved by the Lincoln County Budget Committee with the changes as submitted by the budget officer at this hearing, and to authorize a property tax levy at the permanent tax rate of 2.8202 per thousand for general operations, and that these taxes be imposed and categorized for the tax year 2020-21 upon the assessed value on all taxable property within the county in accordance with law as of July 1, 2021.
Nice job, Commissioner Hall. I will second your motion.
And an oversight on my part, I will close the public hearing. And with a motion on the table, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries, and we have adopted our budgets for the next fiscal year. All right, moving on to decision and action items. First one is on the Lincoln County Enterprise Zone, and we have a presentation by Paul Schutema of the Alliance, who, Paul, you are the Executive Director. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. And it's not really so much a presentation as just to see if there are any questions and to call some things to your attention. It was in May, I believe I was before the Board of Commissioners To kind of give you an introduction to the redesignation process, we are at the tail end of that right now. We are looking to submit our completed application either Tuesday or Wednesday to the state. And I've been working and very thankful for Brad at the GIS office at the county there, who's been helping us gather together from the different municipalities and putting together our GIS map. So basically the action item here is basically supporting this resolution. The only change in this resolution from what was before you in May is the second paragraph that we neglected to have in time when I was talking to you before, which you may choose to have in there or not. It allows hotels, motels, and destination resorts to enjoy the benefits of an enterprise zone should they meet the other criteria, which is minimum investment, creation of full-time jobs in that area in the zone, and basically they have to verify that investment and those jobs every year that they apply, that they get that exemption, which would be a 3-year exemption for a normal exemption. We've been recommending that across the county just to have that tool in our quiver, and all of the other communities, with the exception of the city of Newport, have opted to have that in there. So I just wanted to call that to your attention. Other than that, that's the resolution that you had before you. And, you know, I would like to answer any questions that you might have or any thoughts that you've had since we last talked about this.
Commissioners, thoughts or questions?
Yeah, I do have questions about this new paragraph that's in here. And I guess I want to understand what exactly it does for them and why the city of Newport didn't want to do that. And if this includes vacation rentals.
It does not include vacation rentals. There is a minimum expenditure. What they get is basically the standard enterprise zone exemption, which is a little more tilted towards traded sector and manufacturing, with this one exception, is that they have to have a minimum investment of $50,000. Usually we don't see them that small. They're usually $500,000 or above. And they have to create an increase at minimum of 10% of their current workforce within that area of the zone, and verify that each year. And then what they get is they get to be for 3 years exempted from the increase in real estate taxes due to their improvements, or if it's a completely new facility, then it would be the increase from the property or where it was to that new facility for 3 years. It's basically a way to incentivize and hopefully maybe tip the scales. It's sort of the one exception because most tourism businesses, restaurants, service businesses, retail businesses are excluded from enjoying the enterprise zone incentive. But that was put together, and that sort of rider about 10 years ago by the state legislature as a way to sort of incentivize that kind of development. And so it's completely up to you as county commissioners if you want to incentivize this type of development in the county. The city of Newport actually, they are a consenting governmental agent. They are not a full sponsor. And they did not want to move up to the full sponsor. And if you're consenting, you can't have the hotel rider, which is why it's not in Newport. They just didn't want to really change much of anything other than we added the Lawson property on the north side into the enterprise zone in Newport. That was the only change there. That was a long answer to a simple question. Sorry.
I don't think it's that simple, so I appreciate the long answer. Can I have a follow-up question, Commissioner Hunt?
Sure.
Yeah.
You're
So
asking the same questions I have. Keep
oh,
going.
good. So you said that you know, kind of the what's in it for them, the hotel businesses, that, you know, if they meet those caveats and, you know, increase current 10% of their current workforce in the zone in 3 years, they're exempted from real estate taxes, I would assume that they still then have to pay transient room tax.
Yes, and they're not exempted from all real estate taxes. It's merely the improvement based on that investment.
Oh, okay.
So say they had an assessed valuation of $1 million and they did $250,000 of improvements. That change is what they get exempted from. It's not all taxes.
Got it. So
And
this would
taxes
be
never
like,
go away. It's
Yeah.
it's basically pushing pause to incentivize the jobs.
so this would be like ripping your resort apart and rebuilding or expanding or something like that, where you would increase jobs. And okay.
And the last quick point, and this is not just for the hotel, but for all exemptions, standard enterprise zone exemptions are 3 years. Those work through the zone manager and the county's assessor's office. Businesses can request a 4 or a 5 year exemption. If they do that, then they come back to the sponsoring governmental unit where that zone is and have to get permission. And they also have to prove that the new jobs they create are over 130% above the median wage for the area. So they can ask. Since I've been here and since I've researched things back, no one has asked for a longer exemption. But just to let you know, there is the option for 4 or 5 years, but then that comes before you to see if that's something that you want to allow them to do.
I have an additional question.
Go
So,
ahead.
yeah, you said previously that short-term rentals or vacation rentals, as they're called, would not fit in this. Are they? I mean, I don't see anywhere that specifically does not allow them. And I guess, many cities as well as the county is working on, potentially reducing the number of vacation rentals in the area. So I just want to make sure we're not on one hand trying to do that, and then this, incentivizes that, because then that would be super confusing in terms of what we're trying to do. So, I just looking at this language, I can see how somebody would say, I'm a vacation rental, I should qualify. I'm still a lodging facility or something. And so I just want to make sure there's not a way for them to kind of slip into this.
There are definitions in the state statutes on what constitute a hotel, motel, or destination resort. And they do have the concept of a number of rooms, though they can be relatively small. But also the real tipping point here is the creation of full-time jobs. So if
Paul, can I just jump in really quick? And I think, yes, he is correct. So by law, they do not meet the definition of a hotel, motel. What else is the other term that they use in the statute?
Resort destination.
Yeah.
Destination resort.
Yeah, so they don't meet those definitions, so they cannot qualify this designation. So, I'm not worried about that.
Okay, thank you, Council. I should have asked you in the beginning. Appreciate that.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one in a Zoom meeting.
Okay, my questions are answered. Thank you.
Commissioner Hall? You're on mute.
Sorry, my questions have been addressed as well. Thanks.
So I have a question, and that is, if this is a joint application and the city of Newport takes exception to this clause, how does that work?
Each governmental unit that has, is a sponsor has their own areas in the enterprise zone. So for Lincoln County is basically equal to like Lincoln City or the city of Toledo, where the areas that are the Lincoln County part of the enterprise zone are only in the unincorporated areas of Lincoln County. Anything that is within, and Newport is mostly their South Beach urban renewal area is basically their enterprise zone area. The city of Toledo is basically the city and their urban growth boundaries. Walport's the city boundaries. So they have the option to have this rider on there, and it only applies to their area. Does that
All
make
right.
sense?
I'm still thinking, but I think so, yes. All right, if commissioners are
Excuse me.
comfortable including this paragraph, we can go forward, or we could bring this back. I'll take direction from both of you. Gesundheit, Commissioner Jacobs.
Sorry, having a sneezing fit over here.
Let me ask a question first. Paul, does this have to be approved at this meeting? Frankly, I would like some time to be able to review this change addition.
In order for us to get our application in when the zone expires and redoes, yes, but what I would recommend, because I have no problem with that because things can be amended later, is I would say if that's the case, if you'd want to kind of push the pause button, maybe approve the resolution without that paragraph in it. So we just go forward as it was before, and that gives you time. And if we decide that we want to do that, or it seems like some development is imminent and happening, there is a process which is basically coming back before you with an amendment to the resolution that gets filed and sent out to all the other sponsoring units. So yes, we need it approved, but if you're uncomfortable at that, you absolutely do not have to approve that paragraph. Everything else is the same.
Well, I would be more comfortable with that, but I'll look to my fellow commissioners.
So would I.
All right. I'll also note there's a typo in that paragraph, whereas has an H in it.
Well, that does it right there. So.
All right. I guess we'd be looking for a motion to approve the application exclusive of the, well, second paragraph, which has to do with businesses as a hotel, motel, or you moved it, I lost it. Hospitality businesses.
Mr. Chair, I'll move for adoption of the proposed enterprise zone resolution, striking paragraph 2.
I will second the motion.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Well, you got most of what you were looking for, Paul. And
That's fine.
if it
Thank you
becomes
so
an
much for
issue,
your
let
time.
us know.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll next move on to an ordinance establishing the position of county administrator and declaring an emergency. This is a second reading. This item has been before us before. There any questions or discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
So Chair Hunt, this is Kristen Yule, Assistant County Counsel. Yes, this is the second reading. The first reading was on June 14th, 2021. And is there anybody that would like the ordinance to be read in full, or is title only sufficient?
Title only is fine with me.
Title
Okay.
only.
Okay. Ordinance number 517, establishing the position of county administrator and declaring an emergency. This position would be establishing a county administrator. If you go through, there is an emergency clause in section 4, which we could designate the effective date of when you would like this to be effective.
Well, you confused me with that last comment.
So today is
we-
the second reading. So section 4 can designate what day in July you would like this to take effect. If you'd like it to be effective on July 1st, you could designate that.
That works for me, but again, I'll look to my fellow commissioners.
That makes sense as well. I mean, I assume we adopt the ordinance creating the position, but we're not ready to fill it immediately, but by adopting this ordinance, Council Yule, essentially that puts the superstructure in place that when we're ready to hire somebody, we slot them in. Is that basically what we're doing by adopting this ordinance?
So this is the second reading, my recommendation is to bring this back next week for action, and then it would be effect on that day.
All right.
So
I'll
if we,
support that.
so if we did that, though, it wouldn't go into effect July 1 because we love July 1,
July 6th.
July 6. Okay.
All right, so although this is a decision and action item, it will be coming back to us at our next meeting, and we'll have an effective date of July 6th. Council,
Thank you, commissioners.
all right?
And this is Jerry Herbage, Assistant County Counsel. Just for the record, whenever you have of course, a reading, and this is the second reading, you should always see if there's public comment, because that's the purpose of the reading. And so you might check with Casey to see if there has been any comment.
Mr. Miller, any public comment on our ordinance to establish the position of a county administrator?
We have received none.
All right. Anything else we need to do, counselors?
So just as Mr. Herbage said, this is the second reading. So when we bring this back next week, when you open up the discussion, let's see if we've received any comment, and then you can move forward with the decision action.
Okay.
All right.
Questions or comments, commissioners? Okay. We'll move on to order appointing county council. I don't know if Council Belmont or Council
Sure.
Yule.
I'll take this one because we
Alright.
have to make a slight change in this based on your last matter. And of course, as everyone is aware, I am retiring effective on July 9th, which is coming up very shortly. And we need to make an appointment to fill my particular position. I'm not going away completely while I am retiring. I will be coming back and working as a contract employee and assistant county counsel to work through some projects and help with the transition in the coming months and for the next fiscal year. And so what you have in front of you is an order which would appoint Kristen Yule as a Lincoln County Council, and then just clarifies that Jerry Herbage and myself would be assistant county councils. And so the order accomplishes that in accordance with law, cites the provisions of ORS Chapter 203, which make that appointment. But it also then directs, because we do not have the county administrator on board yet, and I have been fulfilling a number of those functions in my role as county council. It also authorizes continuation for Ms. Yule, Mr. Herbage, and myself to assume those and exercise those duties of the county administrator. But I had drafted this in a form that thinking you might adopt that ordinance today. So it does reference to the provisions of the ordinance that are adopted this date. Of course, they're not going to be adopted this date. So what I would like to recommend is that we also then continue this to the next meeting on July 6th. That'll still be fine. And then it'll be up to date because you will adopt those particular ordinance provisions on July 6th. But if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. But that's the official action, which will move us forward post July 9th.
Makes sense to me. Questions or comments from commissioners, fellow commissioners?
I think we lost Commissioner Hall again. I don't see her.
She's there.
Oh, she is. Okay. Sorry. I just don't see her on my screen. Sorry, Commissioner Hall. Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm here.
There you are.
Like, Chair Hunt, I'm supportive of the process and timeline that Mr. Belmont just outlined.
I am as well.
All right, we'll see that order at our next meeting, which will be on Tuesday, July 6th. All right, next item, I hesitate to call it a decision item on the last two, but that's some idle humor. This is in order to award the contract for the county courthouse roof project. Director Kenyon.
Can you hear me?
We can, all right, Ken.
Very good. I don't sound like Wayne then.
No,
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, commissioners. Roy Kenyon, Public Works Director for Lincoln County. What I bring to you today is a request to award a contract for the county courthouse roof project. As we well know, the courthouse roof has had some issues over the last few years. It's been some maintenance that's kind of been bumped from year to year. It's time to actually get some leaks taken care of. Jack Whaley, who the facilities maintenance manager, did some research and decided that the best fit for repairing our roof is what they call an Aztec reply system. Basically what it does is it allows us not to have to remove pieces off the existing roof. It allows us to actually seal over what we currently have. Supposedly it has, well, I'm not going to say it doesn't have an odor during application, but it has a very little odor during application. There isn't any, doesn't basically have any outside support, so we don't have to put a crane out to kind of get in the way of people. It should be kind of a low impact thing that can happen during normal work hours. And if everything goes well, people will very rarely even know that we're on the roof. There are 4 certified contractors for applying this material basically in the Northwest. And Jack reached out to all 4 contractors for quotes on this. We received quotes from 3, did not receive a quote from the 4th. Low quote was J&M Contracting, John Jones from Cottage Grove at $107,563.28. Second low quote was WM Contracting, Dwayne Wade. Not sure the location of that contractor, but it was actually for $107,825. So we're only talking a couple $100 difference in the actual bids. The numbers are good. The material that they're gonna be placing on the roof is good. We're hoping that come post July 1 that we can get this thing scheduled and get the roof taken care of before the rains return sometime, well, who knows when, October, November, whenever that is. So like I said, I come to you today to asking for you to award the bid to J&M Contracting for $107,563.28. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chair, this is Assistant County Counsel Jerry Herbage. Could I make a quick comment?
please.
Okay, thank you. In the order that you have, I changed the wording to say up to, so we're awarding in an amount up to $107,563.28 because in the attached materials, and you addressed it this morning when you were looking at it, there was a possibility that it could be as low as 99,000 some odd, whatever, if there aren't delays and they can work through this. And so your order says that it also authorizes Roy Kenyon to execute a contract. Now that contract will need to be put in our form, with all the standard legal provisions, and we will do that. But it does authorize Roy Kenyon to execute the contract. And the good news is there's a lot of good news about this project. In talking to Jack, this could start as early as July 15th, and it might be about 2 weeks or less in being executed. And actually, it's going to save the county quite a bit money. I think that the county was thinking that it could have been quite a bit more. And so that money could probably be allocated for other things. But anyway, I think this is a really good news agenda item.
I would agree. Questions or comments, commissioners? Well, I think at one time we were looking at what, possibly 50% or more higher costs. So
Yeah, actually, the number that we had budgeted was 200,000.
yeah.
As long
All
as
right,
we don't, as long as we don't move to wood shingles, we should, should be okay, hopefully.
Yeah, and what this is basically there is a membrane that's placed on the existing roof and it's covered with basically a liquid polymer. Now in some of the information that I read, it's not going to be so much a problem here, but in other places, the material is white and so it reflects heat. And so it was talking about the reduction in cooling costs. Well, now it might be convenient after what we went through yesterday that it might have reflected some heat if we had it on there. We don't know that, but it does have several positives to it. And like I said, it's 100% waterproof. It's tested at basically all climates, hot, cold, and what we have is kind of a combination of both. So we're hoping that we will get substantial life out of this product, and it'll have very limited impact on everything else. And some of the savings that aren't part of the contract is basically some of our HVAC system stuff. If it actually had to be pulled and then put back in place for the roofing process, that would be more expense, maybe not for this project, but would be more expense for the county as a whole. So there are some shortcuts that'll be taken that allow this to be a cheaper project.
good information. Other questions or comments, commissioners? I think we're probably in agreement to approve this contract. I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we award the contract for the county courthouse roof project as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion? Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion is approved, and go fix the roof.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have a decision action item on the building fee increase. I'm not sure I see anyone from planning. Chris?
No, yeah, I just actually checked with planning and they weren't, the meeting wasn't confirmed with them, so I can handle this for them, that's fine.
All right, again, this has been before us, but.
Yep. I don't know if Mr. Miller can place the fees on the screen and then.
Okay, stand by. I'm
Okay.
going to try to locate them. We've got a very big packet.
Okay. So
let's
it's in your email, Casey, actually.
see if it's in order here.
So I think it's in your email. Oh, did you put it in the packet? Okay.
We did.
Talk about the other departments first. That's fine.
Okay, where would you like me to go next, Kristen?
Just scroll down. And so commissioners, yes, you have seen this packet before. This was what was presented for the last several weeks. So we have the DA's office, just making some minor adjustments. Community Corrections is changing their work crew fee. That has not been increased in a long time. So DA's office, and then Health and Human Services is a 3% increase across the board for the Environmental Health Division. So this is for health inspections of restaurants and hotels, for pools. Okay. And then Sheriff's Office is the last. Thanks. Sorry, Casey.
Yep, getting there.
I know, sorry. Sheriff's Office is the last increases. This is for Civil Division. And then that's it. And the Surveyor, I think, had one short amendment for, survey reviews. Okay. And then if you want to just pull up the planning, the building division. So last week I Mr. Husing, Director Husing explained that the building division has not increased their fees, and I want to say he said 15 or 20 years. And so they are proposing a fee increase of around 5%. So you'll have to go, I don't know if it's in the separate document that they sent, Casey.
Okay.
It's not in my packet.
Yep, stand by. Then I'm going to crack
Okay.
open my email here. And hold on. I think this is going to be it. Can you see that?
I don't think anything's changed.
Oh, yeah, bear with me as well, trying to figure out the new screen share. Hang on. And I'll go see if I can find that. How about that?
Yes. Can you make it larger?
I will.
I even have my glasses on. This is sad.
Well, I have my glasses on. I still can't read it.
Yeah.
You know what? This is what was presented last week, but how about I just email it to you all? Does that make sense? Can you guys do that? Or how would you like to do this? There's no way you can make it larger, Casey?
Yeah, I'm trying. Hold on.
Okay.
I need to.
I still am going to email it to everybody though.
Well, based on last week's conversation, I was comfortable with the proposed changes as long as you can confirm that there have been no additional changes.
That's correct. It's what was proposed last week.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable with going ahead with that proposal. I mean, it is a relatively modest set of increases. As noted, it has been many, many years since there's been any increase. So.
And they were presented last week. I'm
Yes.
sorry, I interrupted you, Commissioner.
Can you see that a little bit better?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I can read that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Casey.
Is that, you want to scroll down? Yeah.
And there's the bottom.
Questions or comments, commissioners?
Well, I've
I
already
guess I'll-
comments.
I'm sorry.
I said I've already made my comments that I find these proposed increases to be reasonable and appropriate.
Council Yule, do you want separate motions?
Why don't we do that just because they were separate agenda items?
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the increase in the building fees.
So moved.
Second,
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Hi.
That motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the increase in the Lincoln County 2021 fee schedule.
I move for adoption of the proposed 2021 fee schedule as presented at today's meeting.
I second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
That motion carries. All right, we'll move on to discussion information, possible decisions on the drought declaration update. I believe Commissioner Jacobson or Council Belmont, what's the latest?
We had a drought committee meeting earlier today, which is several people representing different state agencies, agricultural community, forest community, as well as some of our water purveyors. Last week, if you recall, we did issue a drought watch, which was sort of maybe a new tool in the toolbox. We also have had certain cities, City of Walport mainly, that has started a level 1 curtailment program. And Council Belmont was also on the call today at 1, but I think it was pretty much, decided by the group that they thought it was time to declare a drought. That little peak in rain we had a couple of weeks ago, that gave us some soil moisture. Well, I think you can imagine what happened to that over the last couple of days with this heat we had. So the committee did feel it was time for that declaration, and I'll let Wayne speak more to what exactly that does and what it is.
Council Belmont.
Thank you, Wayne, Belmont County Council. And we do have in your materials a draft declaration of a local disaster and a request to declare a state drought emergency for Lincoln County. And just a little bit more information. As of this date, there are 15 Oregon counties that have sought state drought declarations. There are an additional 5 Oregon counties that have done the local declarations like we're doing here and submitted those to the state. And so I think inexorably you're going to see this move across the state. I'm not so sure that we won't get the entire state declared a drought emergency before this particular summer is done. So I do want to note that is a draft that you're seeing right now. I've made a couple of changes. I'd sent this out to some of our partners here that were part of the Drought Committee, and they had made a couple of minor suggested changes. I've made those. I also updated, thank you, Assistant Council Herbage, updated my references to the ORSs because they have renumbered those, which the legislature or the legislative council's offices want to do every once in a while. So we've got the correct references there. So this would put us in line and make a local declaration and then move it to the state and request that the state undertake making a state declaration of drought conditions. And it does qualify us for some additional tools and resources to alleviate the drought conditions. And it can provide both some state and federal aid if necessary. I think as importantly, this is really a kickoff to the water purveyors in the county. As Commissioner Jacobson indicated, they're already reaching stage 1 in a number of communities. Walport has declared, but I think others will soon declare, which begins their education efforts on what people need to do. It begins the voluntary conservation efforts that will go into place to preserve the water resources that we have. And then also kicks in the planning for the curtailment, which can be more specific restrictions on water use. And so I think that timing this with the work that they're doing is a key and essential, I think, to moving us forward as a county to deal with the drought conditions. So just again, noting that there are some slight changes in the draft that's there, but we're ready to recommend that you authorize this today. And once you do that, we'll get it off to the appropriate through the channels to the appropriate state actors, and then move this forward to the governor.
Questions or comments, commissioners?
I would just add, to Council Belmont's point that, people are watching this and think, oh, well, what happens now with my water usage? It's a little bit of a weird situation because the county declares the drought, but then in terms of water usage, it's back to whatever water purveyor, if that's a city or a private water system or a shared water system or what have you. So curtailment measures across the county may not come all at one time. Some may not have to do those. It just is depends on what system they're on and what levels they're at in terms of needing to do that. So it may not be, the same being in Walport or Newport or what have you, but many of the water purveyors we talked about today, so they saw this as a really critical tool as they're either there now or they know it's coming, and they think it's really difficult to educate people about water conservation without a drought declaration, as you might imagine.
And again, the county is not a purveyor of water ourselves. Any other discussion? I sense we're in agreement to make the declaration. I'll entertain a motion. You're muted, Commissioner Jacobson.
Well, good, because I was fumbling there. So
Oh,
I will make a motion declaring a drought in Lincoln County.
I'll second the motion.
any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. All right, let's see. Next item on the agenda is really a follow-up from a discussion we had last week, which was on the fireworks and threat of fire. And I know Sheriff Landers, believe you may have reached out to the Fire Defense Board and have an update on possible additional actions to address those concerns.
Yes, Commissioner Hunt, we reached out to the Fire Defense Board. Again, for the record, Curtis Landers, Lincoln County Sheriff. We reached out to Chief Brian Daniels with the Depot Bay Fire District. He is the current Fire Defense Board chief. He basically pulled the other fire districts in the county, and I have some notes here that he talked about. He indicated that they can, as individual districts, regulate, enforce, and authorize fireworks sale, use, and distribution throughout a jurisdiction. That comes under ORS 480.160, and some penalty would be under ORS 480.165. It's a little different than how we issue like traffic citations and where the money goes, but they are authorized to do that. So it is that they can do it, but he basically said if they have the mechanism to enforce, he said not really. He really doesn't, and other fire districts don't have the desire, nor would they want to put their personnel in that position to be law enforcement officers. He comes from a previous jurisdiction where he was chief down in California, had worked on task force units down there, and ran into circumstances where without law enforcement present, people can get unhappy when they take their celebration away. I can vouch that people get unhappy when we're there and we take their celebration away. But he basically said that while that they can do that, again, that they don't want to be put in that position. And also the fact that they really, especially on those busy holiday times, don't have people to be able to write, cite, fine, and document all the things that are required to do that for the penalties. And so he just doesn't really feel that they would want to be put in that position. He also talked about banning the fireworks and banning the sale, as Walport did. His comment is it's really too late. He's already authorized sales in his jurisdiction, and so have many others. And he thinks that would create a confusing time for people to be able to purchase fireworks and be told they can't use them, or that there be certain areas that they can't use them outside of the cities that wouldn't have the ordinance in place. So I think that's kind of it, looking through my notes on his response to the situation.
Questions or comments from commissioners? Well, I'll ask one. I can understand the Fire Defense Board's response. I mean, certainly their normal duties do not include law enforcement. I mean, they're firefighters, first responders. Sheriff's office certainly is first responders, but clearly a much broader and more definitive role as law enforcement. So I can appreciate the concern there. At the same time, I recognize that the combination of the extremely dry weather, the combination of certainly illegal fireworks, and the I guess general environment is a concern. So what are some things that we can do? I mean, as we talked about last week, enforcement would require a significant, to effectively enforce would require a significant increase in staff. So what are some of the things that we can do to try to address this issue at this time?
Well, it's a difficult issue and a big challenge. One thing we did do is we put out a flyer. This was specifically for the illegal fireworks, but basically also talking about fire danger, what it does to animals, a lot of things. So that went out to all of our short-term rental licensing companies and operators, to hopefully put that out for a lot of the areas that we have difficulty in is heavily short-term rental areas. Bayshore area is one that comes to mind. And so we want to get that information out there so people maybe take a little more, do that education approach first. Hopefully people be more apt to not do that, especially because of the fire danger. I think reader boards, if we're able to get those, put those as we enter the county. So really, again, and a reminder to people, I think that's the only thing we can do at this point is really educate as much as we can. And I know I talked about it on our radio show last week and about the upcoming, not that the visitors coming in on the 4th, we're hearing it, but really get that information out as broad as we can. And I believe we have it set to go in our tip of the week for the newspaper when it comes out too, for the fireworks to remind people about that. So again, I think an education approach right now, when it's happening, I mean, we can respond as we can to those incidents. We get a lot of fireworks that we talked about it at our the dispatch meeting with WVCC, how it's going to be documented with all the jurisdictions. And, those calls come in and we see them. And so we can, depending on the circumstances, can respond to them if we're, close by. That's one thing that comes up. We never really tell people don't call it in because you never know when somebody's going to call in a circumstance. There's going to be a deputy, block away or something. So we want it called in because we can address, the ones that we're able to, that we're close to, and if we just so happen not to be on any other calls, we can still respond to those circumstances too, as much as we can.
So I kind of the liaison with ODOT. What's it take to get messaging boards?
I think a request that goes in and I'm not sure. I know we did it. Commissioner Jacobson, I think, helped with us last time we brought them in for COVID, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I will say that I didn't do anything. I called Representative Gomberg, and he did something. They showed up. So maybe someone can give him a call or text or email and see if he can do whatever he did last time.
I'll reach out to Representative Gomberg or the area manager, Savannah Crawford, for our area at ODOT. So between the two, I'll reach out to them and see what we can get in the way of messaging boards. I think certainly they would help. Any other thoughts or comments, commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I appreciate the sheriff's participation last week and this week and is reaching out to the Fire Defense Board. It sounds like we've got a pretty solid consensus to go with an educational approach rather than trying to adopt anything outright banning fireworks use in the unincorporated areas. Because at least the sense I've taken away from these discussions is, certainly we want to discourage unsafe use of fireworks and any use of illegal fireworks, but the enforcement resources are just going to be very, very limited. So, if I think I said it last week, if I truly felt that a ban could enhance public safety, then I'd be in favor of it. But I'm not in favor of a measure, just, essentially a feel-good measure saying, we took a stand, we banned fireworks, and then lacked the resources to actually enforce it. And again, I think the point's been made, but we should emphasize that even if we did do such a measure, it would not apply within the incorporated cities. I noticed after our discussion last week, we started getting specific requests to institute a ban within the city limits of some of the other incorporated cities. And I know I messaged back to at least a couple of people explaining we don't have the legal authority to do that. So, I'm just thinking that if we did this, not an effective tool and perhaps even counterproductive. So I'm comfortable with the approach that we're developing here.
I have a few, follow-up questions and comments as well. So to Sheriff Landers, in your conversation with the Fire Defense Board, I feel like to sum it up, it kind of sounds like their recommendation was no in terms of a firework ban.
That's correct, yes.
I mean, I am super worried about fire, but I feel like if our fire defense board is saying we don't recommend this, to me, that really weighs heavily on that decision-making piece. Additionally, I would just say, in a lot of probably the same correspondence Commissioner Hall is talking about with many, residents wanting a ban, and I communicated with many of them and kind of said, another issue is just enforcement of this. And can you give us some idea from a law enforcement perspective what the 4th of July weekend looks like in terms of the kinds of calls you're getting? Because I think part of this issue isn't just, oh, we don't have staff. It's what else happens during that time that is really high priority that needs to be dealt with. So what other kinds of calls and issues and problems sort of happen? I know, last 4th of July in Lincoln City, we had a really awful incident take place there. But what does a typical 4th of July weekend look like in terms of calls?
Sure. Well, it's never typical, but
well, yeah, I'm sure that's true.
I think that's probably sums it up. But no, I think it's just the fact that you have an influx of people coming to the coast, and we're really expecting even a larger amount of people coming this weekend. Number one, it's on a weekend. That automatically enhances the number of people that are coming. But given the recent heat that we've had, this last weekend was probably a 4th of July weekend by the number of visitors coming in, and I imagine it's going to be similar for the 4th. But anytime you get celebration, and we want people to enjoy themselves, but it tends to have alcohol-related incidents that come on. There are a lot of crashes that come on during holiday weekends like that. We respond to numerous crashes on the highways, a lot of them involving alcohol and distracted driving and other things that go on. The incident in Lincoln City was, again, getting large groups from out of town in here. And it just sometimes people don't play well with each other, unfortunately, and it's just really the amount of people for the amount of deputies that we have is just really offset. It's we have an appropriate number of deputies for the population that we serve, but it's those influxes that come in that really causes concern, and then just the type of activities that go on. We already do not allow any time off for like a weekend like this, and almost all of our patrol will be on overtime if their days off so happen to fall. So we actually have all available staff are going to be working during that time period to respond to the calls for service. Again, the calls just increase. And maybe the best thing to do is, if after it's done too, I can come back and let you know the call difference from maybe a typical weekend. Pick a weekend in April or something compared to what this weekend and the number of calls that come in. I know our dispatch centers usually provide that because they're taking the 911 calls that come in, and it's not just our county, but everywhere during these events. But it seems like the coast, but again, with people coming in, just a multitude. There's domestic disturbance. There's issues in the state parks. There's issues in the county parks. Because they're all full. A lot of people, even this weekend, I was seeing tents set up along Highway 101 up and down between Lincoln City and Newport on the side of the road. And I think that's only going to be enhanced for the 4th of July. The weather's expected to be good, so that's going to bring a lot of people in. And I guess that's probably just to kind of circle back around. It's never typical, but it is a large call volume. We are typically responding to a higher level of priority calls for service, and a lot of calls do go unanswered, especially related to fireworks. What they'll do with fireworks is they'll actually create one call screen instead of typically what they do for calls is create a call screen for every caller that comes in, and they'll just start dropping those calls every time they come in on that call screen, just because of the vast amount that we get. It's less time for the dispatcher to actually get them out to the car so that we can see them. Does that kind of help describe what we go through?
I think that's helpful. Thank you. I think it's helpful for the public to understand that there's a lot of other issues that 4th of July brings.
Yeah,
besides
there are.
fireworks, drinking and, like you said, people behaving badly and those types of things.
Right. It's, that it's, and it's also the fact that it's, it's hard to get to someplace too. I think that's the other thing, that cities have it, while it's still a large amount of people in town, they have a shorter distance of travel. But when we have, one deputy working up north area from Depot Bay all the way north of Lincoln City, a call comes in, a notice, and then they got to drive back through Lincoln City. If another call comes in Depot Bay, you can just imagine just the travel time to get back and forth is very difficult. And, we try to have more than one on, but even that, when you have 992 square miles, it's difficult to just get around geography wise compared to the cities. Cities just have that dense amount of traffic, but they can still, get from one end of the town to the other quicker than we can get from an area in the county. But it's still, like I talked about earlier, we still want people to report these things, especially if they think they're hazardous, because we may be close by to it. I tell everybody that just because it may take us an hour to get to a call doesn't mean you shouldn't call and report it. We still want to hear all the reports coming in because we just so happen to may be close.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Sheriff Landers, following up on the discussion about other activities, I think it would be helpful to hear the potential risks to a law enforcement officer. I think you alluded to it earlier today. And going into a situation where you've got a group of people or multiple groups of people and, alcohol is involved and, there's a risk to our law enforcement staff in entering in those situations and removing the fun. And again, without going into specifics, I think we saw a pretty frightening situation last year up in Lincoln City on the beach. So I think it would be helpful for people to hear those considerations as far as risk to the law enforcement officers.
Yeah, anytime you're outnumbered by a group that's unhappy and then you have to take enforcement action, you can just, even with the tools we have on our belt, it's still very risky to engage in those situations. Again, especially if people have been consuming alcohol or other drugs or substances that alter their minds. And we've seen it several times when people get celebrating, sometimes they overindulge in what they're doing. And sometimes this can be people that would never do anything normally, but the alcohol starts doing the talking and it can be very dangerous. And again, it seems to, while the majority of people can go out and have fun, do their fireworks responsibly, but they're, or whatever they're doing to celebrate, have picnics on the beach, it's great. We want to encourage that. That is definitely what we want to see. But then if somebody, the illegal fireworks come from other states and people set them off and we have to take them away, it's just as the fire chief described. It's one of those things that make people very unhappy that we're taking their celebration away that they spent a lot of money on. And I've been, I've seen that firsthand where I've had to do that. And, people become very unhappy about those circumstances when that happens. And then things get heated and, one thing leads to another and it can be dangerous for the officer and the individual. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. That's it. That's the bottom line. I think it's people come over and celebrate responsibly is the message to get out there, and don't put yourself on that call screen, I guess would be the message to get out there and have us have to come do it, take care of it. So, because we are stretched thin and again, when one officer is dealing with a large situation, it can be very difficult.
All right, thank you for that. I have agreed to reach out to Representative Gomberg or Savannah Crawford, area manager at ODOT, to try to get messaging signs. I think clearly we're working on education, and there'll continue to be efforts to educate people about the risks. Anything else on this subject? Commissioner Jacobson, I can't tell if you froze or you're moving, so you're okay. Okay.
I'm okay. Thank you.
All right. All right, then. Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate appreciate the update, and we'll address the situation. And as you noted, there are times when you'll be in a position where if a call comes in, action may be able to be taken. So thank you for that. All right. Let's see, move on in our agenda. Next, we're now down to reports, and this would be our COVID vaccination update by Interim Public Health Director Florence Portowell. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm going to wait for the presentation to. All right. Thank you for this. Thank you very much. All right. So as you can see, we are still seeing a little bit of increase in our cases when we compare it to May, but as you compare it to April, March, and even February and January, we're still trending lower, which is good. We've had, since last week, one more hospitalization and over 20 more cases. Next slide, please. So 57 cases in June, 25 cases in the past 7 days. Here are some of the locations, kind of the zip codes where we're seeing those cases kind of soar a little bit. We have a distribution of cases mostly within the 19 and 54 years old. This is where we see the majority of our cases at this time. So as you can see, like pretty much what's happening is that most cases are rising in a population that is either not yet vaccinated or not fully vaccinated. Next slide, please. So we have a few outbreaks going. We have two going on that I'm unable to discuss because they are under the reporting threshold. And we have one outbreak in Lincoln City at the summer camp with some employees were not yet fully vaccinated and got sick with COVID. The situation is well under control. We've had a tremendous partnership with this camp, so we're feeling pretty good about this. So you know, I'm gonna give out the same message that I gave out last week, which is we understand, you know, that people don't necessarily want to talk about COVID anymore. Unfortunately, COVID is still a reality in the county, in the state, in the nation, in the world. And so in order for us to really put on some protective measures and prevention measures in place, we are really in need of good information when we do case investigation. So this is really important for people to you know, kind of play along and help us control the spread of the virus. And as a reminder, you know, when you're fully vaccinated, so 14 days after your last vaccination, and you're a contact of a case, you do not have to quarantine anymore. While if you are not fully vaccinated or unvaccinated, we will ask that you quarantine. Next slide, please. All right, vaccinations. We're getting really, really close to the governor's goal of 70%. As of 12 p.m. this afternoon, there was only 19,147 people to be vaccinated for the state to reach the 70%. This is exciting. As you may have heard, the governor made a declaration last week. So pretty much whichever happens first will lead us to quite a change in our day-to-day life and how we go about preventing the spread of the virus. So either we reach the 70% statewide or we reach June 30th first, but regardless, at the latest on Wednesday, a lot of state requirements pertaining to COVID are going to be lifted. There will not be a requirement to wear a mask in most places, except where it's required in airports, public transit, healthcare, and I believe also congregate settings such as jails or prisons. There will not be a requirement for physical distancing anymore. There will not be any occupation limits in businesses. And, there is a hope that kiddos are going to be able to go back to full-time in-person learning in the fall. So when you look at Lincoln County vaccination rates, we are going at it slowly, but we had an increase, of 0.5% this past week. So we're almost at 70% of 12 and older vaccinated, which is great. And in our wildest dream, we were hoping for 28,000 people, and we have passed that. We're at over 30,000 people be vaccinated. So this is good. Next slide, please. All right, so the executive order, like I discussed a little bit earlier, is gonna rescind either at 70% vaccination or on the 30th. So no more capacity limits, no more physical distancing, no more restriction on higher education. Even childcare requirements are going to change. And of course, masks are not going to be mandated anymore. Next slide.
So Florence, this is Doug. Within our county, the federal places where masks would still be required, the only place I can think of, I guess, would be the airports and post offices.
Public transit.
Public transit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I don't know that it's a federal location necessarily. It's more like that the federal guidelines that certain locations and have to keep wearing a mask.
Yeah, good point.
So why did Oregon make this decision? There are definitely some questions about it. So here are some answers. So Oregon has been making decision based on its data, and which is what we do in public health. We look at the data and then we decide. So overall, Oregon ranks third lowest in the nation for infection rate when it comes to COVID-19, which is pretty an amazing achievement. Fifth lowest in death per 100,000 people. And we've constantly ranked amongst the lowest in the nation for death and mortality rates. Even though we're doing really good on vaccination, I would like to see us in the first 5, but 18th is still really good in terms of vaccination status and rates. And our vaccination rate is above the national average. Next slide, please. All right, so it's a little bit of a change this this slide because, so we used to show you, pardon me, our zip code table, and we would see those 4 areas and those smaller percentages. And what I thought we would do this week is kind of look at the progress we've made to look at the positive, bright side of things. So as you can see, we've looked at where we were on June 7th and where we are today, 21 days later. And as you can see, there is an improvement and an increase in the vaccination rates on each of the 4 locations and zip code area, which is great. This is incremental changes, but to put things in context, when we look at our data and the vaccination rate increase on a weekly basis in the county, so this week we're at 0.5% increase, and the highest we've been in June had been like 1.2%. So you can see that the percentage change in this area is actually higher than our overall increase, which is exciting. So what are we doing to really offer more vaccination opportunities to specifically to these areas? So we'll be at the county fair on Friday, the 2nd. We have Beachcomber Days on Saturday, the 3rd. We have a clinic at the Don Linde Park on the 8th for the Tidewater area. Toledo Library on the 13th, the Salmon River Grange on the 15th, Enotis and Lincoln City Community Center on the 16th. We are doing some additional outreach to various community partners and political leaders to see if we can join certain community events. And we are also looking at finding ways to promote those events as much as we can. So we are going to have a team of volunteers doing some flyering days prior the clinics. We discussed this morning at our multi-agency coordination group about using the platform of the various partners to also promote the various clinics. And this was great. So Samaritan, for example, agreed to possibly send the flyers through their MyChart accounts to their patients. So we're really trying to think outside the box and communicate as much as possible and really engage. And also we are thinking about educating and communicating about why it makes sense to be vaccinated. So more to come, I think we're doing a good job. And, we knew that, this part of the work is going to be not as rewarding, if you want, as the beginning of the work was. But I mean, we need to keep going and continue to reach out to people and make sure that people know that the vaccine is available to them whenever they need it. So that's the plan. Next slide.
Florence, before you go on to the next slide, I'll point out for my good friend Don Lindley, there is no E in his last name.
Thank you for this. Make sure to pass this on. So before we go to questions, I wanted to share with you, Casey, we had sent a video and I would like to.
Oh, this is a good video. I think I saw a preview.
Yeah. So we would like for you to play it, please.
Okay, yeah, let's give this a shot and see how it works
And
out.
I think it's the 60 seconds that we would like.
I've noticed
Sorry.
sometimes.
Don't be frightened there for a minute, Florence.
Yeah, sometimes we
It's
get
still my heart.
Okay, so it may lag. We'll give it a shot. Okay, here we go.
Polio and smallpox were two of the most feared diseases of the 20th century. Vaccines have nearly eradicated these threats. Today, we face a new deadly threat, COVID-19.
Like America did then, we've engineered safe and effective vaccines for adults and children to prevent COVID-19.
You can get your vaccine at doctor's offices, pharmacies, and pop-up clinics. There is no out-of-pocket cost to you, and you do not need insurance.
For life to return to normal, at least 7 of 10 Americans need to have their vaccine. We've had ours. Have you had yours?
I got mine.
I've got mine. I got mine. I got mine for my wife.
I got mine to keep businesses open. I got mine for the ones I love and the beautiful guests that we serve. I've got mine, and now it's time to get yours. Help the Oregon coast beat COVID-19.
All right.
Thanks. So yeah, we're pretty excited about this, and we will be playing. We're in the latest stage of finalizing contracts with a few TV providers, and so this is going to be playing in Lincoln County to our residents soon, and hopefully will help with getting some people motivated to get to a vaccine.
That was my first time seeing that. I didn't get the preview. So thank you for sharing. Really, really great to see everyone from the community participate in that.
Great public announcement.
Very nicely done.
All right,
So
anything?
that's it. That's the end of the presentation.
Questions, commissioners?
None.
I have some questions, and this is maybe a question to Council Belmont or Council Ewell, but and we've kind of talked about this previously. So the governor is saying when we reach 70 or by June 30th that these restrictions lift. But my understanding is that OSHA actually adopted permanent rules for businesses around COVID because they could not do temporary rules as long as they needed to with COVID. I think they can only do them for 12 months or something like that. So does anyone know? Has OSHA rescinded, or are they going to, or just simply not enforced, even though the rules are still there?
This is County Council Belmont, and my understanding is OSHA has actually been meeting since June 14th to repeal those portions of the adopted rules that conflict with what what is expected from the governor happening on June 30th. It was interesting because I saw a spokesperson from OSHA say that even if they haven't gotten those that completed by the 30th, they're not going to actually act upon any kind of complaints from somebody who says that a person is not wearing a mask or social distancing after those restrictions are lifted. And we'll try and confirm that before on Wednesday. But they are working to actually repeal the conflicting sections.
Good. I just want to make sure that as restrictions come off, that businesses can truly shed those, that they're still not OSHA enforcing those. And I guess the other comment I'll just make is, with our community and vaccines, I may be just as worried right now as I was in the very beginning of this. And while we have 70% of our community is vaccinated. And yes, I did get mine. Did you get yours, to follow the little message there? But 70% is vaccinated, but it's not, that's across the county. There's certain pockets, as we saw, where less people are vaccinated. All of those restrictions are going to come off. We also have all of our children under the age of 12 that are not vaccine eligible. And so, I would say we certainly are at the potential of seeing outbreaks and more hospitalizations and even deaths with individuals that chose not to get vaccinated. And I do think with the vaccines being widely available, we do need to open our community back up. But I'm just worried about those that chose not to, and the outbreaks we're going to see that we have to contact trace. And like I said, more hospitalizations and potentially death, especially in those communities where there's a high number of people that have not gotten vaccinated.
Certainly a concern, I would agree. Other comments or thoughts? All right, well, Florence, do you think we're going to get to 70% without rounding up by the end of Wednesday?
I would say yes.
All right.
All right.
Well, that would be nice. All right, if there's nothing more on COVID, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the Echo Mountain Fire update. Mr. Miller.
Good late afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so we're kind of in between our bi-monthly meeting with FEMA, but I did reach out to Anita today to try and see if we could get a little bit more details on that re-engagement event. And she did say that they put 40 people through, so they saw 40 individuals. But she said that their data, it takes a little while to get it into their systems. So she's still waiting on the scanned documents that they processed at the event. The only note she made was that continued temporary housing assistance and insurance were the primary things they saw at that event. So perhaps when we meet with FEMA on Thursday, we'll have more details about that. I think the only other thing I wanted to highlight was jumping in and checking out the long-term recovery group. Katie was on that meeting a couple weeks ago. I was on it last week. And what's exciting that's happening there is I think all of that sort of administrative infrastructure is starting to gel, and they're really getting some momentum, and some of the things that are going to happen around that are these needs assessments they'll be doing, and those sort of funnel into the disaster case managers. It sounds like they're going to have a location for these DCMs somewhere up in North County. So there'll be a physical location for people to go through and really work on that. So that's exciting. They're also going to launch their website soon, and they'll be able to take donations. So a lot of dominoes falling for the long-term recovery group, as well as the anniversary event, which is actually kind of complicated, but beautiful in the sense that I think they really want to make it meaningful for everyone, from survivors to first responders to even the business community. So a lot of subcommittees and a lot of people doing a lot of work there. And then also I think they'll be looking for more community participation too. But as it all kind of comes together, there'll be a good centralized location for people to learn more about the long-term recovery group and how they can help. So those are my two primary things I wanted to let you know about, and punt it to Roy for any updates on the cleanup, and then also Katie for all the money she's getting. So that's it for me. So either Katie or Roy next, I guess.
I think we'll go to Commissioner Jacobson. I'm not sure Director Kenyon is still with us.
Yeah, so I can provide some quick updates. So last Friday, the legislature passed the Christmas tree bill, as they're calling it. It had a huge amount of funding in that for capital projects. There was a bunch of money that came in for various Lincoln County projects unrelated to wildfire, aquarium, Lincoln City Cultural Center, fire station, a couple pools, City of Newport, water, and a bunch of other stuff that I haven't even sorted through yet, to be honest. But also in that package was pieces of wildfire recovery for Lincoln County. And I say pieces because there originally was a wildfire bill. The bill kind of got chopped up and pieces got stuck in other places. And so the pieces that got stuck in the Christmas tree bill that were funded was $1.8 million to go to Panther Creek water district for them to replace their tanks that burned that FEMA would not pay for because they survived, but the life was sucked out of them. So that was funded. $500,000 coming to Lincoln County for wells and other standing free systems, work for people that were not on a water system or a public water system. And then the big one was a $15 million package, again, coming to Lincoln County, which includes money for septics and fire suppression and getting that community up to code. So that is really exciting. There is also, like I said earlier, the wildfire bill got kind of cut up and stuck places. And I'm still trying to find out where my road money went. I think Roy Kenyon might have found it for me today through a stray email he got. And I'm still trying to figure out where our housing money went that we had asked for. So hopefully we'll be able to track down those pieces. And then just the other update I have is we are starting to really drill down into properties that either still have hazard trees or still have not fully cleaned up. And you know, trying to just continue to do our due diligence to get those cleaned up. And so Paul Seitz went and did a windshield tour, as he calls it, and kind of got all the properties, not very many of them, that had not cleaned up yet. A few of them were still waiting for ODOT, and made contact with a couple more, got them on the ODOT list, and is still trying to make contact with a few strays. So hopefully we'll get, I think we're down to, you know, less than a dozen in that category. So we're super close. So hopefully in the next few weeks, as we can make contact with a few of the ones that we have not made contact with, we'll able to finish the cleanup there. And that's all I have.
All right, good information. And as Commissioner Jacobson noted, there's a lot of money coming to the county for a wide range of projects. So there will be much activity. Anything else, Mr. Miller?
No, I think that about does it. I think she's really hit on the cleanup and what's happening there. I just would add, I have been on several statewide calls in regard to chlorine, and it's being monitored very closely by the state. Additionally, our health department has reached out to, you know, those smallest water providers, and the county is encouraging its providers to do the assessments the Oregon Health Authority is asking for, to really get an inventory on where our local providers stand with their chlorine. So we're watching it, and things are okay right now. So, and a report for me. Thank you.
Questions or comments from commissioners? All right. We'll move on to commissioner reports. Commissioner Jacobson, anything more for us?
I will just say really briefly that I got to go up to Roseburg on Friday and see parts of it. It was huge, too big to see all, but the parts of the Archie Creek fire that they had, truly devastating, as was ours. But you know, if you've seen one fire, you've only seen one fire. That's kind of what I learned. Really, really different. Most of it truly in wildlands. They did lose 109 homes, but not in a neighborhood like we did. Those homes were kind of spread out. But also on a real positive note, you know, that community had lived through many fires previously. They had defensible space. A lot of people had their own pump systems to pump water on their houses from local watersheds. And, you know, unfortunately, hearing their stories made me realize that, you know, that's probably where we're going on the coast in Lincoln County, is needing to be more wildfire aware, obviously, and you know, have our residents and everyone kind of know what to do, as many of them already knew what to do, and were able to save several homes. Didn't save all of them, you know, but they're used to living with that, which is not something we are.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Hall.
Nothing additional to share.
Well, briefly echo Commissioner Jacobson's comments. I had the opportunity to drive through the fire east of Roseburg fire area, and talk about stark, burnt, scorched earth. It was just devastating. And as you said, Commissioner Jacobson, you've seen one fire, you've seen one fire. It truly was shocking. But as you noted, work is being done, they're recovering, and their lessons that have been learned. So the only thing I'll comment on is at the Area Commission on Transportation meeting last Thursday night, each county had an opportunity to kind of prioritize projects, and this is looking at some new money and looking into the future. But the group from Lincoln County agreed that one of our prioritizations would be evacuations routes, alternate routes in the event of a disaster or the COVID or fire. So it was good to know that at least that we've kind of raised that issue as far as a concern for the county, and potentially it's in the queue for some funding sooner than it might have been. So that would conclude my report. Next, public comment. Casey, can we do your magic under the new Zoom format?
Yeah, so hang in there. I'm going to first jump to a screen share on our website to take us to today's meeting. And can you all see our website there?
Yep.
Okay, so we only have one item of input today, and that's there, Brian Serbu. And then jumping over to short-term rentals, we did receive, I would say about 6 items of public input, which I guess I didn't load to the website. My apologies. I will do that immediately following the meeting. But we can see it here in the smart sheet, going back about 5 items right here. So my apologies, I'll get that up right away.
But the public comment is there.
Yep.
All right. Anything else to come before the board, commissioners? All right. With that, we will be having a special Board of Commissioners meeting, a public hearing on Thursday, July 1st at 3 p.m. This is part of the Community Development Block Grant that the county is currently in the process of applying for. That will be a virtual meeting. We'll also have our next Board of Commissioners meeting on Tuesday, July 6th. Monday, the 5th is a federal holiday, and many county facilities will be closed, but that will also be a virtual meeting at 3 p.m. And I'll just make note that with a reopening, we are giving consideration to face-to-face in-person meetings, possibly a hybrid format, possibly changing the day of our Board of Commissioner meetings, possibly changing the time. But we will provide adequate advance notice before those changes are made. And this use of Zoom is a first step toward possible changes. So if there's nothing else, we are adjourned until the public hearing on July 1st at 3 p.m. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.